Hello everyone, if you are following me on Tradingview, you probably know that I have these trading group signals on the options market. I give you free signals on Tradingview every week, but I also give private signals, and today we will do a recap on some of the best signals of 2024. First is Bloom Energy. I have this Patreon WhatsApp group on which I send the signals with the expiration date, strike price and premium that you have to pay. I also mention what institutions are buying. For this example, on October the 2nd, last year I noticed that BE, Bloom Energy, added some strange out-of-the-money calls expiring on July 18, 2025. So there was an unusual buying, 12,500 contracts at the 25 strike price. Then it was trading below $12, the stock. Now it's trading around $25. And around November 22, when I post this article, after they had a contract to supply energy to AI data centers, the price skyrocketed and the options went up 11x. So the premium went up from 0.27, around 27, to 3.5, around $3.5. And now it is trading around $6. So this was a 20x trade so far that I mentioned for my Patreon members. Let's look at the chart. So October 2nd, it was around here when it was trading sideways. The price was around $10.5 and it skyrocketed recently to $29.79. So right now it's trading at 25, but it was even higher. So probably this was a 30x at its peak so far. If you are interested in the buy and sell indicators that I'm using, write me your TradingView username and I will send you a trial for these buy and sell indicators. They are some of the best in the market, in my opinion. Let's go to another trade, Cypher Mining. This is a mining stock. I think this year they will start also businesses in AI data centers. So they will transform some of the data mining companies into AI data center companies. I mentioned this entry here on September 17, and around November 13, when I mentioned this, the free strike price calls that I bought went up 5.25x, while the 7 strike price that institutions bought went up 8x, as you can see. From 0.77, the free strike price went up to 4.10, around $4.10. So what I do for my clients, I'm also a financial consultant in my country, but everything we talk here is not trading advice, and you need to do your own research before investing, is to find what institutions are buying, and I give you their exact entry, and I try to build a spread or buy something more conservative at the money, even though they are sometimes buying out of the money calls or puts. IonQ was one of our winners last year. I mentioned on September 27 that we can buy the 9 strike price calls expiring October 18, and on October 18 they went up 4.77x because the stock was trading above $13. TSSL is the leveraged Tesla ETF, and the calls on this one went up after Donald Trump was elected, went up 8.8x. So the institutions bought the 12.73 strike price calls, while I built the spread. The spread was 9.73 call bought, and we sold the 12.73. The upside was this, 5.17x and 8.18x at expiration. So it was a leaps position, long-term expiration date strategy for 1 year. If you somehow manage to sell the top, The SSL went up to $41 from $9 when we entered around here, went up to $41. So at the top, probably it was trading on December 18 at 15-20x higher than our entry. Don't forget to ask me about these indicators. I can offer you a 7-day trial. They are also cheap to buy, only $100 for lifetime access. If you want to join my Patreon, you have the link in the description of this video and also in the comments. Let's look at Lunar. Lunar, the call was from August 12. To buy the December 20 calls, the premium was $1.10. The Odysseus lander, built by Houston-based Intuitive Machines, landed on the moon on February 22, making history as the first commercial craft to reach the lunar surface and the first US spacecraft on the moon in more than 50 years. So after 50 years, the US reached the moon thanks to Intuitive Machines. We bought the free strike price calls. They went up 9.6x at expiration. This was a fantastic call. It was trading around $3 on August 12 and it reached 13.57 at expiration. The call skyrocketed. I also wrote an article here before the earnings on Tradingview. You can see that we bought it around here on August and then went up a lot from $3 to $25 at its peak. So if we bought the January 17th expiration, we could have made a lot more money on this. We can complain, it's a 9.6x trade, 960% up. We also buy puts on this group. One of them is on DLTR. I noticed some significant activity on October 18, the 105 strike price puts. The stock went down 44% and at expiration those puts went up 6x. Vistra Corp is also one of our best picks. It went up a lot last year. The spread bought by us went up 2.97x, while the institutions bought the 90-100 debit call spread, which went up 5.71x. Indeed, the stock reached $170, so it was better if we bought naked calls instead of buying spreads. But I like more conservative positions and we bought spreads on this. We have a 10.74x signal on Coinbase. On February 7th, I mentioned a potential spread expiring February 16, and notice that there was a huge volume on the 130 strike price, but it was risky being out of the money. So the spread went up 2.57x, while the 130 strike price calls went up 10.74x. Alibaba was one of our best calls last year. It is still in play this year, 2025. Baba calls went up 2.8x to 6.5x. So I mentioned that the institutions bought the 95 strike price calls mostly at the ask side. What we want to do is see in the options chain what was the price on which the contracts were traded at. If they were bought at the ask side, it was an aggressive buyer. If they were traded at the bid side, probably it was a seller who agreed to sell at the price that another one was willing to give him for those contracts. That's why I try to monitor the options chain every day and see this type of contracts. Warner Bros. Discovery calls went up 5x to 7x. So we bought the 7.5 calls. Institutions, there were a lot of volume at the 9 strike price calls, but on August 22, the price of Warner Bros. Discovery was below $7.5, and I was afraid to buy the 9 calls or the 12.5. At some point they were trading 5x higher, and those bought by institutions 7x higher than 9 strike price calls. The 12.5 were also extremely profitable if you bought those. SoundHood AI is a company that works with Nvidia. Nvidia had a stake on this, and I was mentioning on February 15 that we could buy something at the money, the free strike price calls, after they disclosed the investment in ARM and SoundHood, and also Recursion Pharmaceuticals, RXRX. On December 26, even though we bought the January 17 strike price calls, the calls were trading 12.25x higher, so they went from $1.67 to around $20.5. It's a huge gain. Let's see it in the chart. So our entry was here on this breakout, bought at the money but long term. At some point it was trading even at $25. So at this level the gain was even bigger, probably around 15x. And now they disclosed that they sold their investment in SoundHood. Apple, a fantastic 12.8x entry here. I mentioned the spread, the 167.5 and the 170 debit call spread, while there is some interesting volume on the 170 call. The 170 call went up 12.8x, so it went up from 51 cents to $6.52 at expiration. So this was a signal that we took. I also send short-term signals sometimes. This was one of the best, 12.8x. Novocure, unusual activity at the 22.5 strike price out of the money. If you bought the 15 at the money, that went up 5.74x, which we bought, or if you bought the 22.5, which institutions bought, those went up 873%. Byto is one of the Bitcoin ETFs. The signal was on October 10th. There is a significant buying at the 26 strike price, and we bought the 17 strike price. At expiration, the 17 strike price went up 7.5x because the ETF was trading at 24.66. At some point, even the 26 strike price was extremely profitable, I remember. We also trade the small cap cryptocurrencies. This is one that went up 10x. On September 28, I mentioned that Doga is a small crypto project that I think is primed for a breakout, and the breakout was a 14x in only one day. This was a huge breakout. JetBlue is another amazing entry. On January 17, I mentioned that they were adding big calls for February 16. I think this was a buyout or something, or a merger news. Quite aggressive, bought the 6 calls and sold the 7 calls for 0.08 premium. The stock was trading back then below $5, and at expiration the stock was trading at $6.96 and the spread went up 12x. Regarding Alibaba, on all of my charts you will see previous position, previous signals in the charts when I mentioned to buy or sell that instrument. In this case, I think Alibaba for this year has still upside potential. There aren't only buy signals or long signals, you can see also short signals. Let's go further. Hot Mining, 6.6x. It's a crypto mining stock. They were all bullish back then, Mara, Riot, and also the small caps. The volume was not that high, but they bought out of the money calls, so I thought the 8 strike price would be reasonable. The calls went up from $2.40 to around $16 on November 12th. The signal was from May 14. Com went up 5.55x. Grab, which is a rival of Uber or Lyft in Asia, they are also in the payments business. This spread went up 5.26x. GDS, this is also a Chinese stock. I told the members that I'm considering the 7.5 strike price calls. Institutions bought the 15 strike price calls. We were on March 25. GDS develops and operates data centers in the Republic of China. It serves cloud service providers, large internet companies, financial institutions, telecommunications and IT service providers, and large domestic private sector and multinational corporations. At expiration, the 15 strike price calls bought by institutions went up 9.5x, while the 7.5 calls bought by us went up 5.3x. I was more conservative and bought something at the money. They bought out of the money the 15 strike price. SoFi is another winner. On October 7, I mentioned these 8 strike price calls for January 17. At expiration, SoFi was trading at $16.50, so the calls went up 6.96x. We are also trading the volatility in our group. I noticed these VIX calls on August 29, the 15 strike price calls for September 18, which were back then $1.51. On September 7, those calls were trading at 4.88x when the VIX was trading at $22.38. Back then the 15 strike price was at the money. Archer Aviation is another winner. We bought the spread for 7 strike price debit call spread expiring January 17, 55 cents on November 11. This stock went up to $8.82 at expiration, expired in the money, up 5.45x. GameStop was another impressive gainer last year. October 28 position, expiring the same week. The 20.5 calls went up from 70 cents to around $35. So up 5x on Wednesday in 3 days. BBAI, Big Bear AI, I noticed some important positions at the 2 strike price. We bought the 1.5. At expiration, the 1.5 went up 4.65x, while the 2 bought by institutions went up 6x. You can see also related posts with other gainers. OPTT is an ocean power technology in the AI space. The calls went up 10x, another fantastic gain in my opinion. Upstart calls went up 4x, 5.5x. The signal was from June 18. ChargePoint, before the elections when Kamala Harris was leading, those green energy stocks were bullish. So I mentioned on June 18 the impressive number of calls before the close. The 2 strike price position expiring on July 19 and August 16. Massive volume. Depending on your entry and the sell execution, it should be up 9.5x on July 23rd. We bought puts on Moderna on July 18. If you bought the spread, this was in the money, up 75%. If you bought the 105 strike price puts expiring on January 17, they went up 6.7x. Those were bought by institutions and the spread was something more conservative that I told the members about. Equity is a recent entry because there is this huge problem in the EU, European Union, with the gas, natural gas, that is not imported anymore in Germany from Russia because Ukraine doesn't allow anymore for that pipeline to reach Germany and the Eastern Europe. So probably the US will be an exporter of oil and natural gas. AQT is at 52-week high. The calls went up 5x. MOH went up 5x. BTDR, crypto mining BitDeer. It's a crypto mining cloud blockchain computing company. They bought the 15 strike price on November 22, expiring December 20. They were out of the money because it was trading below $10 back then. At expiration, BitDeer went up to $20.49, which meant that the 15 strike price calls bought by institutions went up 10x, while our spread, the $10 bought and the $17.5 sold, the debit call spread went up 4.16x. We also had this synthetic covered call position on TSLI. It's another Tesla investment strategy. Those calls went up 7.18x from October 28 to December 20 expiration. Dell was another huge gainer. It went up 11.68x in 1 week. This was the call of the month. Which month? March 2024. They bought the 114 strike price calls for $1.6, and at expiration those 114 calls went up to $18, 18.80 or something. Coinbase, another huge winner, 3x to 11x depending on the call that you bought. Institutions bought the 230 calls expiring on July 19. Back then it was July 12. So from 3x the spread to 11x the naked call. Oxy puts, Occidental, bought by Warren Buffett recently on June 25 to September 20. Until expiration, Occidental went down 19%, so those puts went up about 5x. Alaska Airlines, 5.75x. We were bullish on all the airlines at the end of 2024. PDD, Pinduoduo, another Chinese company. The institutions bought the 105 strike price calls at the ask side, which went up 11x at expiration on November 15. TFC 5.74x. Fubo, which combined with Hulu on Disney. The calls were from April 22 when I mentioned the 1.5 strike price calls, naked calls, expiring January 17, 34 cents premium. It was trading at $4.88 and I think even higher. Let's see Fubo, for example. So if you manage to sell the top, this reached $6.47. So this 10x call probably was a 15 to 17x call. This was a fantastic gainer. Delta Airlines 3.3x. I told you that I was bullish on all the airlines on November and December last year. Philip Morris, another fantastic gain, so a 9x gainer. If you bought the 120 strike price calls that institutions bought here, the signal was from June 20, 2024 and the expiration date is June 20, 2025. So right now it still has the potential to go higher. On October 22, it was up 9x. Hood is another fantastic gainer. I was bullish long term on this one. I mentioned LIPS, long-term equity anticipation expiring securities. In this case, it was a spread, the 10 and 20 debit call spread for 0.94 premium, expiring January 17, 2025. Back then, we were on November 16, 2023. At expiration, Hood was trading above $20 and reach this max upside potential of 10.6x. Rivian, another gainer, SE, a Chinese gaming company, 10.4x. Newmont, at the end of last year when gold was reaching all-time highs, I was extremely bullish on gold miners, and Newmont went up around September 18, 4.2x. Astra Space, another rival of SpaceX and Lunar, was a 5x gainer. TXN 6.25x. RFNC. AMC Entertainment was the call of the year. What I mentioned on May 10 was that they rolled the calls for the next Friday. There is some anticipation for a short squeeze. The free strike price calls for next Friday is 0.23. Went to $12 from $3 back then, I remember, in 1 week, and at the peak those calls went up 36.5x. We also have Eli Lilly 4.9, Mara 4.75, Starbucks, Nvidia, another fantastic gainer, 7.4x, Apple, K Holdings, Matterport, and at the TradingView competition with 82k participants, I was at some point in top 10 on 4th place. If you want to receive this type of signals, you have the group in the description of this video. Please join and let's make money together in the options trading group.